Hello, my name's Gracie Bobo, and today I will be presenting about a painting by Caravaggio, and it is called Medusa. So this is an image of the painting Medusa by Caravaggio. Just for a little background, it was painted by an artist named Michelangelo Merisi de Caravaggio. He was a famous painter, and he really got famous for his intense and unsettling realism of large-scale religious works. We can see here, this is one of his few works that actually wasn't religious. He would primarily paint gruesome Bible stories and other bloody dramas, and he actually became even more famous when he violently murdered a man named Ranocchio Tomassoni. So the murder of this man significantly changed his art. Medusa was painted before this murder, and it was commissioned by the Cardinal del Monte. And there's actually two paintings of Medusa. They were supposed to be gifts to the Grand Duke of Tuscany, who apparently loved gruesome depictions such as Medusa. It was commissioned to rival Leonardo da Vinci's earlier depiction of Medusa. So basically, a little background into the story of Medusa. Medusa was a woman who had snakes on her head and turned people into stone. She was actually killed by the famous demigod Perseus when she saw her own reflection in Perseus's shield. So this is a depiction of the very moment that her head is cut off, and you can see her last breath. Here we have it on display in Uffizi, Florence. So when we take a look at this painting, it really has a very sad and dark mood. You can take a look at the background. There's no true setting. It's pretty pessimistic. It's very violent. You're looking straight into the shield, almost as though the viewer is getting a view of Medusa themselves. But the interesting thing is that Medusa's eyes aren't looking right back at you, so you can look at Medusa without getting turned to stone yourself. And it has this realism about it. It's a look of shock on Medusa's face. It's that split second that she's still conscious before she truly passes away. So if we take a look at the foreground, the eyes and the face are really the center of the painting. We see this extremely shocked look right on her face, right about here, and it's like she's almost still in the middle of taking her last breath, even though she's been beheaded. You can also see the snakes centered all around her head. They still look as if they're moving, which is really interesting at this point because we see a kind of contradiction between the life of the snakes here and the shock and death that is portrayed on Medusa's face. Obviously, the foreground is the most important part of this. It's depicting Medusa herself. And we do get a sense of depth with the shadows placed right here. But besides that, there's no really sense of any other kind of depth given in this painting. Now we can also see this decorative border around the outside. It's black with a little bit of gold highlights. So this is kind of thinking that he wanted it to look more like a shield. So he painted this gold on it almost to make it look a little more transparent. Now, when we take a look at the colors of this painting, we see a lot of cool tones. If we look at the background is a very dark green, and the snakes obviously are also a dark green with lots of shadows. And the shadows are the darkest part. The face itself is the lightest, with the eyes being the lightest themselves. Now, this is believed that the eyes are the lightest because he wanted people to see the horror and the fact that she's looking away from the viewer. This once again allows the viewer to look directly at her near death without any kind of fear of the viewer turning to stone. And then we can also see, it's very gruesome, but this very bright red patch of blood right here. That red patch of blood is a really bright contrast to the green that we have behind it. It really adds value to the focal point of the painting, which is that look of horror that's on Medusa's face. And these are my references.